Alex's
This
question.
is totally not urgent. So
No, it's
there's
okay.
other stuff that
There's
just
not.
needs solving.
We were going to demo some stuff, but I'd rather, if it's a conversation that's going to help you, that's more powerful.
Okay. Well, okay, sure. So I guess I would kind of caveat this with, I really don't know what I'm about to start talking about here. But I've been watching, well, there's two things, and I don't know if I should share my screen or not, but I've been watching a lot of like previous Loom videos or office hours. So the one thing is with, let me share, with some of like the mobile sizing for like CSS for mobile. I'm wondering if, so I've got an app, I was working on this at the start of the year. I'm just kind of picking things back up. I'm wondering if it's worth it for me to basically start over with like mobile breakpoints and actions, everything from the get-go, or if I should work retroactively and kind of place this stuff on for mobile.
Probably depends how well you think it's set up. You know, this how
Very
good
not
CSS
well.
is.
Let me, like, basically, it's pretty messy. So I think it'd be a lot of work to actually make this look quasi mobile.
Is it? It depends though, because basically I do everything, or not. I do a lot like intrinsically as I build, just because I have experience. But more or less, I do everything retroactively. Like I build it and then I go make it responsive. Okay. But part of that is like, if all these things have correct classes and they share classes appropriately, you'd basically be changing responsive in one class. It would apply everywhere. It'd be pretty easy. If it's all over the place where each element's different and you have to go do it to each element, that would definitely be a lot more tedious.
Which I would need to go back and look, but I bet you that's what I've done. So, okay.
But I mean, you basically the choice would be rebuild from scratch or go clean up the CSS. Because it might be faster to actually, you know, say like, this is a rectangular card, so go create a class for the card, and then everywhere else that's used, add that class, you know, and then you'll have the CSS cleaned up. It might be faster than rebuilding. I mean, it's up to you, because rebuilding also has a ton of benefits. Like if you build something once and then scrap it and rebuild it, like it's always so much better, you know, because you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so. I hear you. I'm like, I worked on I don't know if you remember, you were helping me at the start of the year with this, and like I feel like I've learned a bunch since then, so I probably wouldn't do things the same way that I've done them now, or the way that I did do them now, or whatever I'm trying to say. So that's good. I guess the main thing I would ask is, I was watching one of the videos Mark did with like custom actions. And I know there's been a bunch of like with the Bildr marketplace and adding other stuff like that into the studio. One of the things I'd like to do with this is, I'll kind of walk you through, but basically the user fills out all this info and drops a KML file here. And I'd like for that, for once the KML file is there and then the user hits post, I need to pull out the data and render it on a map. So I'd love your kind of, I've started like scratching the surface at reading, and I've seen there's a bunch of different people have kind of tackled this with like hiking data. So there's like different people have different libraries. Some of it's, it's way above me. They're running it on like NPN, like I think they're kind of doing it like server side or on their computer and then showing it in the browser. You
can do it direct in the browser. Like, I don't know if there's reasons that people do it different ways, because I don't know the full extent, but you can run like the way that you insert a Google map, any Google map. Yeah. You can put options for that KML data and it'll just render it for you. You can style it, you can do all this stuff, and it's all through JavaScript. But in the case of Bildr, it would be like a custom action or custom JavaScript, because you need to write, the specific KML options in there.
Right. So what would I need to know? Like, what would I need to know to, like, JavaScript? Like, what do I need to?
Yeah, I think so. You would probably have to adjust plans as you start into this. Like, you probably run into like caveats and hurdles.
Yeah.
But basically, you need to find the Google Maps JavaScript or any map service, but Google Maps is like pretty robust. And I've done it with Google Maps before with KML, so I know it'll at least work. But yeah, here you go. So like you get like an example of the JavaScript that has KML data in it. And that's what you would paste into a custom action, is like that JavaScript.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to make the input, like the KML come from an input of the action. So there's a little bit of Bildr custom action stuff in there.
Yeah.
And then the heart of what you're doing in that action is just pasting the JavaScript. But the one sort of in between is like, if the user uploads a file, like a KML file, your JavaScript might also, before it does the Google stuff, it might need to read that file and parse it out, which in JavaScript is just a couple lines. Like there's ways, so it'll be a similar thing. You'd have to like Google, like, I don't even know off the top of my head how to do it, but I know it's a couple lines. There's like a file reader JavaScript snippet where it'll read the file and save it as a variable for you, basically.
Okay.
So it's like that's kind of the process. And I don't know, like what it would do is the user would upload their KML, or you'd save it to your database, whatever. And then on the page, when the page renders, if you have that correct JavaScript there, Google will just do everything else for you. Like you won't need to know any, like it'll center the map and like it'll, everything. So that would be the easiest way, but it's not going to be like easy.
No, for sure. Okay, cool. That gives me something to.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find like this. I mean, it'll probably be better for me if I just look in the docs, but like I can probably help you with the specifics, because it's a kind of thing where when you try to go implement this, there'll be a lot of specifics that come up, like a lot of details. So I just wanted to kind of say the high level, like, it's not, you'd probably have to figure some stuff out along the way.
Totally. Okay. Thanks so much.
Yay, Alex, thank you. Okay, Fraser has a comment for you in the chat that may be helpful for I guess seeing the styling in your project, to determine if you want to rebuild or just rework with what you have there.
Yeah, you can just add tailwind and just use all those external classes probably. When you need to use it to test, just use them.
All right, so 15 minutes. If anyone has a question, definitely ask. Otherwise, we've got two things, and I'll let y'all decide which one you want to try to tackle. So there was a user who was asking about animating rows of a grid when it loads. I can't remember who drew, but that's the one you mentioned this morning. And then DazeGo asked in Elements, is there a way to implement sliders in Bildr? We're trying to display user testimonials in the front end. So any of those two, do you want to talk about, or maybe mock up a short demo or anything?
The demo that I was going to do that animation thing anyway, like I owe it to that person, but I feel like it might take a little longer than 15 minutes, and I didn't even really, I was just going to do it off the cuff. I didn't really prepare. So it might make sense just to talk about that other one. I don't think we'll be able to demo the slider, but we can talk about the methods that you could get a slider in the Bildr.
Is there anything you can show in the studio, like just point out certain things without having to like build it, just to give this person a visual of where they might start?
Maybe. I mean, well, you tell me what you think. The answer is basically you would pull in a third-party JavaScript slider from somewhere else. That's like the answer. So it's kind of like custom to what you pull in and what you want to do and all that. But I don't know. Maybe we could show like how to pull in an external library.
Yeah, like I've done it through actions, but it's a lot of actions.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even, you could build on Bildr. I wouldn't even bother. If I were building this,
Third
I would,
party is easier for
yeah, I
sure.
would just pull in a third party thing that's already built.
It's usually
Yeah, that
just
sounds
the
great.
page header, probably.
Okay, so we're showing how to pull in an external library and then add that into a page header in your project that you can then.
Yeah, and then
Hey.
you'll need to reference the element probably with an attribute or something, right?
Yeah. You want me to just try to demo it, or did you want to do it, Dorian?
No, you're good. I don't even know. Do you have one?
I'll just Google it. I'll Google it live.
Yeah, do it.
I know we have used, who was it that we were using? No, so some no code group built a carousel for shout outs where you grab the tweets.
Oh, the service shout out.
Is that what it's called? It's actually called shout out. Way to go, brain. Okay.
Maybe
well-
shout up, actually. It might be different than shout out, but yeah. That was actually like a service where you create an account with them and then you can choose the tweets you want to show, and then they just have like an embed code. You just put it on and then they.
Okay, gotcha. So that is just tweet based. It's not like.
Yeah, it's not a generic.
Like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. I thought it'd be easier just to find a library.
Yeah, and I'll do some search too. Let's see.
Let's see. Josh was saying he's just about to start consider rotating set of words like the header title on Zapier. So that
Maybe tried like glidejs.com.
Nice. So yeah, so the first part of adding a slider, and this actually applies to anything you want to add, like but almost anything is on the internet already built. So you find a library like this, and there's docs somewhere that would tell me how to include it.
On the right side, there's the setup, and then you'll find the CDN.
Nice. So yeah, so actually this is good to explain, just to like explain what this kind of is. In all these libraries, all these modern JavaScript libraries, they'll give you this NPM option or some other package manager option, which is when you're using modern code, that's how you would use this stuff. You put this line in your code. Pretty much everyone uses NPM already. That's like a standard thing. You put this line and it pulls in the library. In Bildr, that doesn't work with like the regular normal actions, like the everyday actions we use. So what you want to do is find like the CDN version, it's called. And so a lot of times the first thing is almost always NPM. A lot of times right after or soon after, there'll be a CDN instruction here. But more and more, these libraries aren't even including the CDN stuff in their documentation because it's kind of like it's not outdated, but it's just like the older method of doing it. So sometimes you can't find the CDN link easily. So what you do is you search in Google for like glide.js CDN link because they exist. It's just sometimes they're not in the documentation. But in this case, it's in the docs. So like I can copy this link here, or actually this unpackage is like an example. It's a service that has almost all of these. They host them for you. But anyway, this is what I'm looking for, this CDN. And what I want to do in Bildr is include it as a page header so that I can use it basically. So I would go to page headers, new page header, it's called glide.js. And the way that you include it, so sometimes the documentation will write this all out for you, and sometimes they just give you the link. But basically you have a script tag, and you can do like type JavaScript to be a little more correct. You don't even have to, but basically that script tag just references the library file. So like that. And if I create this page header for now, I'm just going to do it on all root pages. Or you could put it on specific pages that you're using the slider on. It's up to you, but you just need to make sure that this script is as a page header on the page you're using it, because that'll put, before the page loads up in the head section, it'll include the library and basically just allow you to use it. So now I'm set up. And then what I have to do is I have to go to the docs, and all docs are different, but I have to figure out how to make something into a slider basically. So this is all still getting started stuff. Oh, I wonder if I have to set all this up. Is that what this means?
No, I think it's just the top level, and then you'll need those 2 style sheets in the headers as well.
Did I miss those? Oh, right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is an example too of like everything's different. So in this case, I also have to include some CSS, and I can put that in the same header because I always want it to appear in the same spot. So I'm just again copying and pasting code, but this is like link to a style sheet, and actually this link won't work. So this link is not an absolute link. Like this one starts with HTTPS and goes to CDN.js deliver. This just starts with node modules. So this would work if I had NPM. So I actually probably have to find the style sheets real quick. Let's see if I can just get them from here. No. Just do what I said originally and search glide.js CDN. So this is like glide.js CDN links. It's probably going to have what I need. Yeah, here's like core CSS, theme CSS, and the ones I used were
Is the core and
core min and theme min.
mhm.
So yeah, I can just go core min, copy, and theme min, copy.
This is awesome, y'all, because this is making it so much like, I bet there are people who wouldn't have even known where to start with this, who can now actually will be able to get it a little bit better.
You'll need to update the core one. So it pasted the theme.
Why did I do that? I was just listening to Cora. That's why.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, this is like there's a lot of gotchas in this process, but it like knowing this is really helpful because it's like everything is different. And I think we've mentioned this before, but a lot of times those docs are just wrong or have errors.
Yeah.
It's pretty annoying. But anyway, yeah, for this one, script, the 2 style sheets, that's what's required. And then I just need to go find how to make it work, basically. So here's new glide is like, this is like, again, it's like typical of using JavaScript. This is like how something would work. You'd include a library and the library is going to give me the ability to like put this new glide on the page. So I just look new glide and I can see it's targeting by a class name. So I should be able to use this without anything extra. I can just use a Bildr class. But basically, let me see what I'm trying to figure out. And I don't know if you've looked at this, Dorian, but it's like, how do I choose what goes in the sliders?
Yeah, I think maybe you do have to build that structure
The
then
whole structure.
with those specific classes.
Yeah, prepare the main markup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically this is an interesting one. Like normally you wouldn't have to do, usually you put any single element on a page and then a JavaScript library, you target that element and it does everything else for you. In this case, you have to set up some HTML, but it's pretty straightforward. So I think we should be able to, we should be able to do all of this. And then these LIs here, whatever you put inside them will be your slider content. So you can probably just add more of these. This actually probably will turn into, I could probably just turn this into like a pattern.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put a container div and then start replicating 1, 2, UL. Okay. So I had, I'm just going to do it this way. A div, and an unordered list. And I had 3 list items. So basically this structure, I don't know why I felt the need to include that container div. I'm going to remove that. It's not confusing.
Yeah.
So this structure here is mirroring this structure with the divs and the ULs. It looks a little different just because of the way Bildr is, but that's what's happening. And then I need to add all of these classes as the same exact correct things. So the first class is glide and the next one is glide track. And the way in Bildr, if you add a Bildr class, like if you use these class names, the actual CSS isn't going to be the class name. It's going to put like a Bildr ID. So I need to go in this external class reference. So this outside one is glide, and this inside one is glide track. And if I do that, it'll put those classes on. And then since I want to be clear here, I'll just label these. And then the glide track has this data glide element of track as a special attribute. So the way that I'll do that, because in Bildr, you know, you only have a couple options here, but you can always go down into this JSON. And there's an attributes field here where you can just list attributes out. So it's if you know JSON, like it's just, you know, there's a key and a value. If I want to add another one, I add a comma and I do the next key and value. So it's that, and the value was track. And so if I do that and save these JSON changes, now this div is going to get this attribute. And so, and I'll show this in 1 second. I'm just going to add these remaining classes. So the UL gets slides and the LIs get slide. That, and these all slide. Okay. We'll just call this demo. So if I preview this now, and inspect, starting here. So there's a little thing from Bildr called with CSS underscore, but that doesn't affect anything. That's not going to break anything. Class takes multiple classes separated with a space. So you can see class glide track, class glide. Here's the UL slides. Here's the LI with slide, slide, slide. So all those are in with classes. And then here is that special attribute, data glide L equals track. So basically I replicated that HTML using Bildr. It looks like this. And then the second step, so that's what we have to do here. And then the second step to implement this
Listening to right.
is this JavaScript code here. And so I'm just going to copy this whole block. And what I'm going to do to start this out is on the page binding flow, I'm just going to run a JavaScript block to make this run. So what I'll do is run JavaScript and then paste that in. And we already called, like, so what this is actually doing, sometimes depending on what you're implementing, you have to know a little JavaScript, but this is targeting it by a class name of glide. And we know that we just put that class glide here. So I don't have to change that JavaScript at all. Sometimes you might have to change like how you're targeting an element or some, forgot change for save. How you're targeting an element or something. So there could be more, but this in itself, I think should work. Except purview 3. I don't know what this is going to show. We'll just test it out and see what happens. Basically, these things are just say list item. That's all the LI is. So it won't be anything major yet, but I think it should work. I don't actually even know what's supposed to happen when this happens. Now that I said that, because there arrows come up, or
I think it was cycling him and it looked like it was moving.
I was just scrolling on my mouse sideways to see if I could scroll. That's probably what that was. It's actually weird because I don't know why it's only showing one list item. It should be showing 3. Because I did that before I even had this on here. I'm just going to comment this for now. This is like what I wish the actions could do. Just comment the action. Yeah, like you can right here.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm going to just delete these and see if it's showing me the right one. What? What is happening?
It's like it still has it cached, maybe.
The JavaScript, you think?
Maybe. Or the library. Or no, it's probably the CSS, changing that.
Oh, the CSS. You're right. It's the CSS.
Yeah.
That's so confusing, but perfect example of what always happens. So these CSS links that I have, they're working with that glide class and that glide track and whatever. I bet you that they just they show the first, glide slide and hide all the rest. So I'm sure that's what that is. And I bet you that when this went, I bet you it worked. It's just we don't have the controls in there or something.
Right. Yeah. Because that's the next thing is the controls.
I wonder if there's a thing that just says like autoplay. Yeah. So autoplay default false. So let me see if that's okay, cool. So the way that options work is like usually pretty standard. So I'm not even gonna look this up. You might have to look up how the options work, but I'm pretty sure here it's gonna be like this. Well, let me just check if it's all lowercase. Autoplay true. Oops. And that, in theory, will make this cycle through. I don't know how long of a wait it goes or what.
No, I feel like it should already be showing that it's like either one of our headers isn't there or it's not resolving properly.
I can see if I get an error on that glide call. That's interesting. I don't.
And if you expand the head up there, like, is it there?
Style sheet. Here's the head. Here's the. Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, it's there.
I think it's a case of just like, I don't even know what I'm implementing, Like I'm just sticking this in here, but there's probably just something we're missing in these docs that tell us.
Drew, I think it's okay because I think we've showed like the most helpful part.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you did any other library, it would all be different at this point. The key concept is basically what we just did already.
No, I think, yeah, I thought that was wonderful. Basically, it's an exploration. Here's the general structure of how you would do this, but it sounds like each one is going to be different. And then they can always reach out to us for help with a specific one, right? So what would we need if someone was needing help to implement something? What would we want to see in order to help them? So if you're trying to do this board, a link to the docs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you say like, how do I implement a slider in Bildr, and somebody says there's no default way, then the best thing you can do is like go do your own research basically and find the slider you want to use. I mean, sometimes that's hard, so we can help with that too, but every project is different, every person is different and all that. So it's kind of preference. So if you come to us with any library, we'll be able to help you really quickly just implement it.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful. All right. Okay. Y'all, thank you so much. We're at time, so we'll go ahead and stop this, and then we'll pick up again next week. Do it every week. So thank y'all so much for joining today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.